Ladies and gentlemen, let's Gaming Silicon video. We have some good news. AMD are retaking some of the ground that they have lost to Nvidia in the discrete GPU market. Now I say this is good news because, quite simply put, a competitive market is the best market for everyone involved. Well, more specifically customers, as I'm sure you'll agree. So previously in the second quarter, just for those who weren't too aware, AMD's had admitted that they were only hitting around 18% of GPU shipments in terms of discrete, which is not that good at all. That means Nvidia, for those who are pretty crappy at math, had managed a rather impressive 82% market share in the second quarter of 2015. Now, if we were to compare that to, let's say, the second quarter of 2014, so pretty much a year's difference, Nvidia had only 62% of the discrete market, meaning AMD had quite literally over double the market share than what they did, so they'd lost a significant amount of ground. However, that's no longer the case. Barron's are reporting that they're estimating that AMD are already regaining quite a lot of the lead, particularly for the GPUs of around the price bracket of the R9 390. So how much? Well, it's not an exact number. Unfortunately, these are estimations, but it looks like they're going to be hitting around the 20% minimum, and it could be up to 25% of the market share. Now, what's doing that? Well, it's the $200 to $400 price point, and as I mentioned specifically, the R9 390 is a really strong performer for them. Now, if we were to look at the GPU market right now, it's actually in a really bizarre state, and I've said this a dozen times over. Perhaps one of the bizarrest states that I've seen it in a long time, because we're in this really screwy position where we don't really know if it's worth upgrading for many people. Because if you've got an R9 290X and you're still on, let's say for the sake of argument, 1080p, probably not really worth upgrading, to be honest. It's not, you know, unless you can get a really good deal. You're probably better off going Crossfire. You know, you have to buy another PSU unless you've got a really juicy system, but still. And we know that Pascal's not coming out for some time. Same thing for Arctic Islands. But the real spanner in the works is DirectX 12. Now, DirectX 12 has actually helped AMD with their market share quite considerably. Not just with Ashes of the Singularity, but many developers have said, hey, you know what? Yeah, AMD are doing really well with our software, and AMD, of course, have been rather aggressive about this and pointed out that a lot of DirectX 12 user or game developers are using are partnering with them when it comes to their games, which is obviously a really good thing, and we can see this with asynchronous compute, and Nvidia haven't really answered a lot of the questions that we've had with asynchronous compute. So it's a bit of a mystery. Now, in my opinion, I would really like Nvidia and AMD to be much more even in market share, because it's just good for us as customers. With that said, there are some real, I would say misnomers, but they're just absolute bizarre positions in the market right now. For example, one can argue that the R9 Fury, just for the sake of argument, let's just say the regular Fury is actually a really good purchase, but the Fury X is so expensive and hard to find that it's not really that much of a good, and not that much better performing, might I add. So you're probably better off to just stick with the Fury. And there are tons of little cards like that throughout the market, and even Nvidia, like the 980, it's arguable because of the amount of RAM on the GPU compared to the 980 Ti, and because you can get so many decent price, you can get some really good discounts now for the 980 Ti, that the 980 Ti is actually turning into a better deal than the 980 in terms of the price versus the performance difference, because you can get other cards like the 390, which is considerably cheaper than the 980, and it's like, well, it just gets really screwy, basically, is what I'm trying to say to you. So right now it's really bizarre to buy in the GPU market, and that's once again assuming you don't have any brand preference. Like, if you just want the best for your cash, which, to be honest, is the way I advocate to be. It's like, there's no point brand loyalty. Just get the best GPU that you can get, unless you have a very specific reason to buy a specific brand. But other than that, it's like, you know, why? Who cares? If you've got like a FreeSync monitor, then I can understand, for example, wanting to stay with AMD. But aside from that, it's like, just get the best GPU for your money. That's what I say. Anyway. But, as I said, I think this is really good news. But let me know your thoughts and opinions on this one. Take care. Bye for now.